in. Welcome back, guys. It is day 6. It might be a Sunday, but we're not taking days off here. Nah! It's actually a big day. Today, I have hit a milestone. I'm quite proud of myself. And that's going to be well, you'll have already seen the title, so you know what it's about. I have completed 100 days no drinking. Woo! And it's cool. I've done it before, I have to be honest, not for a long time. And I have to say, disclaimer, because I think it is quite a sensitive topic, I'm not an alcoholic. I have never been an alcoholic. I haven't suffered from any kind of like withdrawals. I haven't been like, any of that real nasty stuff, which obviously I appreciate some people do suffer with. It was more of a conscious decision for me around health and finances and focus and all that good stuff, which we're going to get into today. But I wanted to give that disclaimer because I do think it's important. But yeah, today I want to cover the lessons I've learned, the benefits I've experienced, how I've done it, and I suppose my future with alcohol as well, because I think that's quite important to cover. I have written some notes for this one. I know normally I said I wouldn't be making notes, reading from notes. I'm not going to edit it still because it's long, to be honest. We're still going to keep it short and succinct. Have you noticed that every single day I'm getting these episodes shorter? But I've already wasted 1 minute 45 seconds. Well, not wasted, but you know what I mean. Now I'm wasting time. So let's get into it. Right, so the benefits. I mean, a lot of these seem quite obvious, but I still think it's important to list them. More energy, more clarity, better performance at basically everything in my life, more productive, less emotional. I think that's quite a big one. Easier to stay leaner. It's also easier to put muscle on. Easier to say no to other vices, whatever that may be for you. You save a ton of money and you get back an absolute load of time. To be honest, basically every single metric of your life, or my life, I can only speak from personal experience, improved. Apart from social life, which is important. However, there's a couple of things, caveat here. I live in Spain, in Marbella. The culture here is not as built around drinking and alcohol as it is in the UK. That's been a huge benefit, but also just a discovery for me. I don't know what it's like in the US, but I can tell you in the UK, anything social basically is built around alcohol. It used to be the case that you could like go to the cinema and no one drank in the cinema. Like, I'm pretty sure it was illegal. And now it's like actively encouraged. So even the cinema, I mean, like walking, the fucking zoo, the zoo does alcoholic nights, like literally like go get pissed and pet a fucking lion. I mean, I don't think you can pet the lions, but that would be cool. You'd need a lot of fucking bravery juice before you did that as well. The benefits are pretty obvious. The reason I did it, like I said at the beginning, was much more around I wanted to go into a block of time, a season, as it seems to be popular to call it now, of just hard work, of focus, of discipline, consistency. I wanted to work on myself physically. Mentally, I felt like a 5, 6 out of 10. I didn't feel terrible, but I knew there was a lot of room to grow. And it's quite funny as well because I had planned to go into it before a major event in my life happened, which has changed the trajectory of my life. But then that happened and I was like, wow, it's so good that I had I already knew I was going to go into this and I had that mindset, because it does require a mindset, and that's what I want to come on to now, or in a second, is that. But just to kind of round off the benefit section, because I think that's important. That's the sales pitch, right? I mean, I shouldn't really have to sell not drinking to you, but let's pretend I work for the people who don't drink company. The main benefit is momentum, because all of those things in isolation that I listed, the energy, the productivity, the money, all of these things, right? They're all great. But it's when you combine the benefits, and then when those benefits compound over time, that you really feel and experience that benefit. And ultimately, the number one thing I think it gives you, or brings you, or brought me anyway, was peace. inner peace. I can only speak for myself, but the anxiety, mental strain, the days, not just the days after I've been drinking, it requires so much of my focus, conscious focus, that I'm not able to be productive. I'm not able to be creative. I'm not able to think clearly. Trying to do something like this on a hangover, I'd be drooling. It wouldn't make any sense. I mean, it barely makes sense now, but it would be 20 million times worse, trust me. And I think that is the one I really want to get across. I'm actually going to do a separate video, maybe tomorrow, about happiness and peace. So I'm not going to get too much into it now, but rediscovering the value of peace to me has been a huge game changer for me. Huge benefit. And don't get me wrong, there's still a lot of stuff going on in my life that would make most people anxious, including me. But man, I can't imagine how much worse it would be if I'd have been drinking. The other thing to say about this, right, is actually, let's go on to how to do this. I think that's important. Make a plan, number one. Make a plan and stick to it. So define the time period that you're going to sort of go sober for. I would steer clear of, I'm going to give up drinking forever. I remember when I was in my 20s, I always said, I'm going to give up drinking when I hit 30. And to be fair, when I turned 30, I didn't drink for 6-7 months, something like that maybe. But then towards the end, it was the middle of the summer, I wanted to drink and I started to I was just angry that I wasn't. So define the time period. I've done 100 days, I'm actually not stopping. I'm doing 180, I'm doing 6 months. So it's gonna end Easter weekend, the end of March. I think it's like the 29th of March or something like that, 28th. That'll be 180 days for me. So I'm not done, but I just feel like 100 is a nice milestone to discuss it. So make a plan, define the time period. Don't say you're gonna give up drinking forever, because you might, but by saying that, you're restricting yourself. And if you restrict yourself, you're just gonna want something more. The last piece on this is tell other people you are doing it, because then they're gonna hold you accountable and you can't be sneaking drinks. You know, if you make this plan in your head but don't vocalize that you're not going to drink, it's not going to make sense to people when you start living this healthy, sober life. And the alcohol is the only drug which is people question why you're not doing it. You know, have I said that right? People question why you're not doing it. Yeah, no one's going to question why you're not doing heroin. In fact, it's the opposite. If you're doing heroin, they're going to be like, are you okay? Right, cocaine's a different one, right? Cocaine, people do it. It's kind of accepted pretty much now. I don't personally, but a lot of people do. I'd probably say like 80% of adults, probably. Maybe not regularly, but they do. But it's just accepted. You're not really criticized for it. No one looks at you and thinks, drug addict. It's just socially acceptable now. But yeah, like heroin, people are gonna be like, whoa, okay, something's wrong with them, right? You need a distraction. That's the other big thing. You need a reason to be doing this. Now, that could be that you're in so much pain mentally, physically, emotionally, that you're like, I need a break. Or it could be that you've got something to work towards. So it's either you're trying to run away from something. Run away from something sounds like you're being a pussy. You're not. You're either moving away from pain or moving towards growth, basically, I suppose is the phrase. So for me, it was a little bit of both. Or at first, it was the push away from the pain. And now it then quite quickly became the pull towards growing my business. So it was quite interesting. I've now got both, which I'll be honest with you, has made it incredibly easy for me. So before you go into this, you need to really understand why you're doing it. I say the same thing to my clients when they're jumping into a new program. The very first lesson I go through with them and discussion we have is around purpose. It's around that mindset. What's the real deep-rooted intrinsic reason as to why you are doing this? So that's super important, guys. And what I would also say is give yourself a reward. So if you can, if you're not doing it because you're broke, if you're doing it because you're broke, then you don't need, that's your motivation. That's a bloody big intrinsic driver. You don't really have a choice. But if you can, if you're not doing it, if you can afford to go out and party and you're doing this for other reasons, put the money that you have saved towards something else, not towards heroin and cocaine or hookers or whatever, towards something positive and productive. You know, I don't know, it could be anything. It could be a holiday, a new phone, a laptop, a TV, bloody anything. It doesn't really matter. Just something that you're like, yeah, I've worked for this, and now this is my reward. Reward systems are very, very powerful. So yeah, that would be it. And also what it does is that then switches your value system towards alcohol. Because if let's say you stick to it, let's say you stick to 2 months, you don't have to do 100 days. Let's say you do 1 month or 2 months. You do 1 month in London and you're a guy, you're saving at least £500, at least. Maybe, probably 1,000. I can only speak for London because that's where I spent most of my time. It's going to be different wherever you're watching this, but £500 to £1,000 per month. So that's upwards of £3,000 if you did 90 to 100 days. That's probably the monetary value, I would say. It's probably like £2,500 to £3,000 you're going to save. You can buy a lot of stuff for £3,000, boy. So that's a huge one. And then last but not least, will I go back to drinking? Absolutely, I will, 100%. And funnily enough, as I'm past the halfway point, I've been past it for 10 days, but as I get closer towards the finish line, as it were, I'm looking forward to it. I'm not in the stage yet where I feel like I need it. I've actually done the hard bit, I think, because I didn't drink through sort of the December party season. I didn't drink through Christmas. I had my birthday and didn't drink through that. Now it's January. I don't know many people who are going out partying and drinking. If you're not doing dry January, you're at least doing sensible January. After silly season, it's silly December, sensible January, right? So it's pretty easy, Jan and Feb. March gets a little bit harder. March is probably the hardest month because it's the last month, the weather improves, people are starting to come out of their shells of the winter, they're ready to go. So that will be the challenge, but I'm excited for it. And I think once you get to that point, you just have to look back at what you've done. So I will go back to it. However, I'm going to go back to it with 2 new rules. One is that I'm only going to drink happy drinks. For me, I can only speak for myself, I find there's a huge difference between happy drinking and sad drinking. And I think we should only be doing happy drinking, personally. That's not because I'm like a violent drunk, but I think if you're already not in a great place mentally, it's only going to amplify the effect, right? Whereas if you're really happy, something, you know, if you're celebrating something or something good's happening, or you're just having a good time and life's going well for you, that's very different to if you're like broken up with someone, suffered a grievance or a loss or whatever it might be. You're just going to amplify the negativity. And the second thing, and this is probably the biggest thing, and it's going to be the biggest challenge, is the binging. Because typical Brit, binge drinker, right here. And I want to be able to be in control. Be honest with you. I want to be able to go out, have 4 or 5 drinks, have a good time, go home, remember everything, wake up the next morning, be a little bit hungover, be a little bit poorer, but be able to get up and do things. Like go out for a walk, maybe even go to the gym, function, not have a 3-day hangover with a panic attacks and anxiety and not be able to sleep properly. 100 days in the bag, guys. I'm proud of myself. I would encourage everybody to give it a go, an extended period of not drinking. That has to be no drinking though. A lot of people say, I'm not drinking in January. And then they'll have like 1 or 2 at the weekend or 1 at home or a glass of wine. No drinking. 0 alcohol, trust me. The difference between 0 and 1 drink is much bigger than 1 to 10, trust me. 0 alcohol for X number of days, at least 28, 4 weeks, right? That's the minimum, I would say, to feel a genuine difference. There is probably a maximum time frame where you just don't get any more benefit. Let's see. I reckon it's probably around 6 months, but we'll see. All right, guys, thank you very much for tuning in. Tomorrow will be day 7. I'm excited. 1 week doing up YouTube, road to a milli. We're on the way. I'm excited. Cheers, guys.